Social studies draw on concepts and language from a range of different disciplines. In all learning areas, teachers can help English language learners, or ELLs, to achieve success as they engage with concepts and language. To provide this support, it is important to build on students' strengths and background knowledge of language and concepts. Also, use formative assessments to determine areas where additional support may be needed. It's important to model and convey the expectations and purposes of different classroom activities. For example, critical analysis, debating, and challenging ideas. Students from different cultural backgrounds may be unfamiliar with these practices. When ELLs are encouraged to share their own culture and language in class, the other students benefit and the learning is enriched. Keep in mind that ELL's understanding of their home country's government, history, society, and culture will vary. Some of these students may have had complex, possibly traumatic experiences, so sensitivity is needed in certain units of work within social studies. We'll now look at 3 important considerations for social studies teachers working with ELLs. Then we'll examine some classroom strategies for helping them to engage with the content and use language appropriately. Social studies classes are rich with academic vocabulary and expressions. Support ELLs by identifying new vocabulary and thinking about the best way to introduce and explain it. Consider the context in which words are used and how they might be used outside of the learning environment. Consider how some everyday words can have different meanings in a social studies class. Provide examples of how to use these words correctly in context. Model the language. Say the words clearly and in context. Provide visual representations. Suggest alternative contexts. Use total physical response. Repeat new vocabulary and allow students to use and practice it. These are ways to help ELLs remember and increase their understanding. Some social studies texts are dense with technical, abstract language and visual material. To make sense of them, students must understand how text, images, and diagrams relate, and be able to move effectively between them. Annotating texts to highlight how ideas are organized helps students recognize the key information and make connections between text and explanatory visuals. Encourage ELLs with a shared home language to collaborate by discussing questions about the text to deepen their critical understanding. Allow access to resources such as bilingual dictionaries, texts, or websites that will help clarify their understanding. Advising ELLs about upcoming chapters or sections of texts that will be used gives them time to familiarize themselves with the language and identify the key vocabulary they need to learn. Support ELLs in developing writing skills by explaining the key components of a successful piece of writing using an annotated model text. Social studies text types can be complex to produce. Students need to know about different genres or types of writing. They have to critically analyze information, organize their thinking, draw conclusions from different sources, and explain or comment on different perspectives. Deconstructing writing processes helps students understand what is required and learn how to respond to different types of essay questions. A useful tool is a scaffolded writing frame or template with prompt questions and sentence starters. Questioning texts is an effective way to make complex written material more accessible for ELLs in the social studies classroom. It involves drilling down on the structure and meaning of text before, during, and after reading, and using different types of questioning at each stage. In preparation for a new text, it's a good idea to preview it in class, using questions that require students to scan it for specific information. These questions focus on the structure of the text. Have students devise several questions they think the text might answer. By interacting with the text like this before reading, they activate background knowledge, set a purpose for reading, and become familiar with how the text is organized. During the reading, use margin questions to provide a framework for effective reading of complex texts. Place margin questions close to where the answer can be found. Focus the questions on reading strategies such as predicting, clarifying, questioning, and hypothesizing. This helps students to make meaning from the text and develop skills for approaching academic texts. The questions can encourage discussion as students read, rather than requiring written responses. After reading the text, check students' understanding of the content using literal, inferential, and evaluative comprehension questions. Literal questions ask about information on the page. Inferential questions require students to analyze and interpret parts of the text, to read between the lines, or think and search for the answer. Evaluative questions require students to draw on their background knowledge, values, and experiences beyond the text. Reconstructing text helps ELLs to better understand the content and explore how language is used to join ideas together cohesively. One way to reconstruct is to use sequencing activities, where students place jumbled pieces of text in the correct order. Working alone or in pairs, they practice reading the correctly sequenced sentences to each other. In this activity, students are repeatedly exposed to the content and required to identify the structure of the text and relationship between ideas. Sequencing activities work well for texts that describe chains of cause and effect, are organized chronologically, or explain changes over time. Students can also finish an incomplete diagram or chart, together with the text. By doing this, they represent the information in the text visually in an annotated diagram or graphic organizer. While reading the text, students highlight key terms, processes, or ideas to then insert them into a diagram or use them to complete the components of a graphic organizer. Studying social studies can be challenging for ELLs who are learning a new language and new concepts. Teachers can assist in various ways, including providing support with new vocabulary, written responses, and reading strategies that deepen understanding of the content and structure of texts. This will enable ELLs to experience success in social studies.
If you liked this video, you can find it and so many more at clickview.net. Sign up for free today.